What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Prospect Spotlight, where you get a chance to learn more about NFL draft hopefuls. I'm Steph Sanchez, and I'm very excited to be joined today by Oregon offensive lineman Marcus Harper, the second. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm great. I'm great. Thanks again for coming on. I just know this is going to be fun. So, we're going to start it off with some fun here.
All right, let's
Five
do it.
rapid fire questions. First thing that comes to mind, you just let it out, right?
Cool.
All right. PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation.
Are you a morning person or a night owl?
I would say morning person.
Favorite cheat day meal?
Oh, we have a chicken parm with a large lemonade, and we got a white macadamia nut pizookie on the side for dinner with Oreo ice cream on top.
You thought about that one. There was no
Absolutely.
hesitation on that.
Absolutely.
If you could jersey swap with any NFL player, who would it be?
Do they have to be currently playing in the NFL?
You could cheat.
Ooh. Let me do. I would have said
first name that comes to mind.
Yeah, I would say the late great Larry Allen.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
All right, and then lastly with the rapid fire, what's your favorite Oregon uniform combo?
We did a breast cancer awareness game in 2022. It was all black, but it had like pink accents to it, and it had like a neon green hint of it in there. So I'd say the breast cancer one for sure.
Okay, yeah, that's a great one. All right, let's get into the serious questions here now. So Marcus, you had several offers coming out of high school, but you chose Oregon, and not only that, but you stayed there your entire college career, which I'm sure you know is a bit of a rarity these days. So what was it about Oregon that you gravitated towards and made it feel like home for you?
Yeah, honestly, Oregon gave me the opportunity for me to be myself authentically. It was way away from my front door, obviously being born and raised in Chicago, so it was like 2,000 miles away from home. And I really just got a chance to really see who's Marcus Harper II, like the man, and kind of go through those different phases. And, Oregon never really judged me as a person for making those changes. And then on the field, they just kind of let me be myself. So, all these different changes from, NIL, from getting a new coach to moving conferences, throughout all those phases, I was able to adapt and adjust. Marcus Harper, the person, and Big Mark, and, all of those guys were, they were welcome with open arms. So I was like, there's no reason for me to go anywhere.
Yeah, you said the word adapt, and I think even though you stayed at one school, you had to adapt, right? Because there were several coaching changes that you had to experience. So with that, was there a specific year at Oregon where you felt like things started to click a little bit different, or the game started to slow down for you?
Yeah, so I would say when Landon first got there, his first spring, everyone was kind of running around with their heads cut off, who's going to be what on his offensive line. We had a lot of guys coming back, but I was like, man, it's a new coach. It's an opportunity for me to showcase what I know is on the inside of me. First impressions are everything, and so I played my ass off. I'm gonna be honest with you, because I just knew, I was like, first impressions are everything. You never know if you get another opportunity to really showcase that, you could be a contributing factor to this team. And I would say that spring ball in 2022 was like the moment where I was just like, okay, it's finally here, and I took my chance and made a way for myself, and kind of bullied my way onto the field.
Well, I know something clearly clicked because since 2022, you've gone full 3 seasons, 819 blocking snaps without allowing a single sack. For anyone who doesn't know, that's crazy. That's something not a lot of guys can say. So how do you feel like your film study process has sort of helped you reach the level that you're at now?
Yeah, well, honestly, if I'd be lying to you if I said I wanted that to be a goal, finish college and not have any sacks allowed. But it was just a testament to all the hard work that I put in the dark, and then it came to fruition in the light. And then as I kept maturing and kept seeing tendencies out of defensive linemen, just understanding what my strengths were, and how it could help neutralize what the D lineman was best at. And so it just resulted in, like I said, 3 years and no sacks allowed. But I was just I take pride in my work. So I didn't want to be another offensive lineman out there that was just, middle of the road guy, just another guy. And, the byproduct of that is, again, like you said, there aren't a lot of offensive linemen that could, hang their hat on their college career at the moment that they got inserted into the lineup, you know, untouched quarterback, you know, whenever someone was up against them. So
And Oregon's known for having, great offensive linemen, great offensive lines. So, I mean, you made sure you fit right in.
yeah.
Well, when you study your own film, like what are some things that, you kind of key in on, sure you're on your P's and Q's and whatnot?
Yeah, so it's really evolved from the time I was a sophomore to now. But I would say now I look at efficient movement, making sure I'm not taking unnecessary steps, taking unnecessary movement. Because again, like when me coming to the Big Ten, like we had some better premier interior defensive linemen, and I needed to make sure that I was taking my footwork properly, my angles properly, just to ensure that I was putting myself in the best position to be successful. And then when it came down to breaking down defensive line tendencies, like understanding like their pad level, what's their first move, what's their counter move, how do they win by looking at some other offensive lineman film. And then at the end of the day, really just trusting my athleticism and my technique that I, harp on every single day. And I've essentially started the mastery process. But I've gotten very, very great at what I'm doing the pass game, and just playing with confidence. And I know once I'm confident in something, I can be dominant. So.
And I saw in like another interview that you've done that you've mentioned that you tend to watch other offensive linemen who are built similarly to yourself and just kind of see like what's worked for them. Is that something like you continue to do even today?
Yeah, I mean, the more older film I can watch, the better. Not saying nothing's wrong with the guys right now, but there are just certain things that you can take from older film watching
Sure.
that just gives you some gems. And so I do my deep dive of looking at something like the Pouncey twins, even though they play center, looking at how they maneuver, looking at the Marshall Yondas, even looking back at my trainer in Texas. His name is Jonathan. His name is Rex Hadnot. Looking at how he played in like the early 2000s, and I can't wait till I get into the NFL and I get this big the system of old film I could just do a deep dive into, and I can kind of just like nerd myself out and eventually go back and look further and look at Larry Allen and Will Shields, some perennial greats, Jari Evans, like just doing my research and just really immersing myself in like elite level offensive line play for not just a year, just a point in their life, like true dominance for X amount of years, and built a whole career on. So I'm just excited to just continue to further that development.
Yeah, and they'll definitely have all that film for you to nerd out on. So they'll be excited for you. Now, how about if someone wanted to watch a game of you and they could only watch one game? Like, which one would you tell them to go watch?
I would say watch Ohio State the first time we played them this past year. That was a true testament of what you get. Marcus Harper is through and through. I was in the best shape I've ever played in. And I was just fully confident that like it really didn't matter what was thrown at me. I just knew I could play my best ball. And when you look at the theatrics around it, like, okay, it was like number 2 versus number 3, packed out stadium and all 10. Like, I just play my best when the lights are on in the biggest moments. Like, I'm Big Mark. Like, Big Mark is going to dominate in big moments. So that was just, I would say, if you want to take a look at Marcus Harper second, go look at that Ohio State game the first time we played him.
All right, you guys heard it here first. Go check that one out. And how would you describe your play style to someone?
Yeah, I would say dominant, fast, physical, with a little bit of fun to it too, for sure. There's a lot of times you see me, if I'll get a pancake, I'll be pointing at the defensive lineman just to make sure that everyone sees that he's on the ground, he's getting up. You'll see that from time to time. I got like a little strut that I do. It's kind of weird. Like only if you're on the sideline, you get a better view of it. But I just like having fun and dominating at a high level, honestly. Like, that's really how you would just explain my game. Like I said, a good run blocker or people mover, and I'm a premier pass blocker in the pass game.
Well, when I watch you, I definitely see some violence in there. Like when you try to get hands on guys, like you really try to make your impact felt. So what is your mindset on those pulling blocks when you're on the move?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's crazy. I was just training to run my 40-yard dash this past 8 weeks in Knoxville, but I came up with the term like early in the season, like I'm gonna run my 40 through someone's face. So that same initial speed and that same mindset, that's how I run down the line of scrimmage as I'm pulling. And that's honestly just the whole mindset. Like, keep it real simple, not trying to come up with too much technical stuff. Like, I hammer technique in 25-8. just run through his face, dog. That's really what it
Yeah.
is. Yeah,
Yeah, it's really more of a mindset, yeah, than
yeah,
anything.
yeah,
And so you've protected some pretty good quarterbacks in your time
yeah,
at Oregon.
yeah,
And I feel like they've all shown that they can use their legs as well. Like, so as an offensive lineman, do you find it easier to protect for a mobile quarterback or like a more athletic quarterback,
yeah.
or like does it present some challenges as well, or both?
It
But
it really just tests your condition. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's very rare times where you're gonna have an immobile quarterback. That's just not the nature of like today's game.
yeah,
So you're always gonna have a quarterback that's gonna be a lot mobile, is gonna maneuver throughout the pocket, step up, step to his right, step to his left. Depending on what their hand situation is they're throwing on. So it's your job as offensive lineman, and with the nature of how athletic these defensive linemen are, like it's your job to be able to play in your best shape, no matter how long you got to block for the person throwing the ball, because your job is to be a high level protector.
right.
Not just to be this big wall, but you have to be move. You have to move too, and you have to move
Mm-hmm.
well. I think that's the mantra that's kind of being spun in the offensive line world now, is that we're that old big that old big like refrigerator built type of style of football is kind of getting thrown out the window. Like
Yeah.
these defensive linemen are playing at 285, 275. They're a lot more nimble. Not saying that we have to match that, but we have to be able to sustain that for 60, 70 plus games. So it's on you as offensive lineman to be in peak condition as possible.
It is definitely a challenge now with more athleticism entering the game. And, for offensive linemen, like you got your back turned to the
Yeah.
quarterback. So, like, are there any cues that you kind of pay attention to as far as the defensive lineman to know, like, okay, my guy's on the move, like,
Yeah.
this is where I'm
It,
going?
it, it depends on, again, who I'm playing this week, who I'm playing week to week. It just depends on like what their tendencies are. Anything from like their hand placement, um, which foot is back, which where they leaning. Then I advance my film study to looking at like second level defenders. What are the linebackers telling me? And sometimes, if I ever get a chance, look at the safety rotation. Like that plays a part into like the structure and like the pendulum swing of the defense. So it's a lot of in-depth things that go into making that big scheme, more than what
Right.
it is. Yeah.
Right. Love it. And you've also been very fortunate enough to play alongside several guys on that Oregon offensive line who are now NFL players, and yet it was you that was often described as the leader of that offensive line. So why do you think guys look to you for your leadership?
Yeah. It's just in me. Like, I would love to say I would be like, I say the right thing all the time, and but like being a leader, that's just who I am. Like, when you get Marcus Harper the second, you get a leader. When you want a leader, you get Marcus Harper the second. And so I just really just embrace everything that came with it, like the lifestyle, the responsibility, because I just knew that, okay, at some point in time, like someone or some guys were going to look to me to have the answer. And I ain't wanted to be a place where I was like, I didn't have the answer, you know. Um, and I mean, it's just I was just me, and being me is just a natural leader. You know what I'm saying? I could lead you. I'm not gonna lead you astray. And if I don't have the answer, I'm gonna lead you to somebody that I feel like can give you the better answer than what I can. Um, but that's just how I am. Like I'm a demand a standard that I'm gonna hold myself to personally, but you got to follow suit. If you're trying to get to a certain level. So I just embrace that through and through, and guys just fell in line.
Yeah, like it's crazy how people just sort of naturally gravitate to the natural leaders. Like
Yeah,
it just sort of happens naturally. Well, I know this is probably a long ways away for you, but I've
yeah.
seen some Ducks fans say that like they could see you being a coach someday. Like, have you ever thought about that, or could you see that in your long-term
It
future?
kind of I bounce back and forth with the idea, because the landscape of like football is just changing for the better. Um, I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna say no and just rule out, whatever is up in God's hands. But I wouldn't be like, if I ended up becoming a coach, I personally wouldn't be surprised, if I became a head coach of a high school or a university. But I guess we'll just have to see when that chapter of my life unfolds. But if I became a coach, I wouldn't be like, oh, that doesn't fit me. Like
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Well, there's definitely a lot of time playing in front of you
Yeah,
before you ever have to make that
yeah,
decision. But also, I mean, you could probably get into broadcasting too, because I know you
yeah,
had your podcast, your
yeah,
show, the Big Mark Show. So
yeah,
you're good with that as well.
yeah,
But like now, after the Ducks season has ended, I know you've gotten into your draft prep training. You're over there at Triple F in Knoxville. You're learning from Lee Smith, John Feliciano, Rodney Hudson. Like, what made you choose Triple F as a place where you wanted to train?
Yeah, well, I looked at what I wanted at the end of my career. I wanted to make sure that I had good foundational building blocks from guys who have been on the journey that I'm going on right now. Mm-hmm. And like I said, Lee Smith, John, and Rodney, they gave me like the entire layout. That's, I don't know, 100 plus NFL games that they've all had conjoined together amongst themselves. And it was just crazy just to hear like just the stories of like the locker room and, you know, what their pre-draft process was like and how they were able to balance like family time and, you know, all these different variables that unless you've gone through this process, it's very hard for you to kind of relate and, you know, understand. I knew the work that I was going to put in. Like I wasn't really worried about that. It was more so the off the field things. Like how was you able to, again, they didn't have NIL when they came out. You know, what were some money mistakes that they made? All these different questions that, again, no one thinks about. I went down with them. And, you know, like I said, those are some of the best 8 weeks I feel like in my life. You know, a lot of guys that were down there were kind of in a similar boat like me. And we just kind of just grew closer together as brothers and, you know, just attacked this process together. And it was honestly a good spot. I wouldn't change it for the world, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. I'm sure they have a wealth of knowledge and advice to pass down to you. And we got people excited in the chat because John Feliciano, you know, played for the Niners and he actually just retired. So, yeah, all those guys have played long careers in the NFL. So definitely somewhere good to train. So with your pro day happening not too long ago, like, were you pleased with your results that day?
Yeah, there were only 2 drills I really wish I could take back. It would just be my 5-10-5 and my vert. But I mean, other than that, like I knew I was gonna dominate. Like that wasn't a question of personally. I knew what I was capable of. I knew the work that I had put in leading up to, you know, pro day and things like that. I just knew that, you know, I had that one shot. But again, like I said, I thrive best in those scenarios. So, like I said, I was able to throw a 21 on the bench press, run my 40-yard dash that I don't ever have to train for ever again in my life. But yeah, like I said, killed the indie drill, so I was well pleased with it.
And, you know, without having gotten that combine invite, what was there extra motivation for you to perform at your pro day, you know, especially like knowing how many NFL personnel was going to be on hand for that one?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really foreign to it because, again, I played in front of 100,000 people before. So playing in front of a more controlled scenario where, you know, a lot of guys were looking at you, it wasn't new to me. It was a new feeling because, again, like you said, I didn't get invited to the combine. So it's not like I get a potential redo to showcase, you know, these skills. Like it's literally one shot, you get it, and then that's it. I wanted to see how I could perform with only like a limited opportunity. Again, because I was so accustomed to having guaranteed 12 games and things like that. But like I said, I was good with it. I went through the same thing like I did on a daily basis with my game prep routine. And I mean, like I said, I was well pleased with my results. So.
Yeah, I mean, the preparation definitely paid off, and I know you took some snaps at center, right? Like you wanted to show some versatility, and you've already played like both guard spots. So, have there been any teams that have, you know, asked you about playing center at all? Is that something they're interested for you, or is that just something like you wanted to show to show that you could do it?
Yeah, I mean, a mixture of both. I know with my frame, I have the ability to play all three on the interior. Playing center isn't foreign to me because I take snaps every day. You know, when I was at practice and things, I practice at center, so putting my hand on the ball and making a call isn't foreign to me. It was just one of those things where it was like, okay, you have 2 years of guard film, you got a year of right guard film, and it was just like, let's just see what I can do at center in front of you guys. And so again, that wasn't foreign to me to put my hand on that ball and get moving. So.
Okay, so you had already done some like preparation for that as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And as far as like, you know, your conversations with teams so far, like what's the feedback that you're hearing from them as far as what they like, maybe what they want to see more of from you?
Yeah, no, teams like me as a whole, like they like me, like the total package of who I am, like the on the field, love my film, love my ability to move and bend and, you know, show my athleticism off. Because again, it's a very common at Oregon. Mm-hmm. You go into the bigger scheme offensive line play, that's not a normality. And then they like who I am off the field as well, being able to, you know, with the podcast and with the being able to show myself and conduct myself in a well manner. And yeah, so like I said, they like where I'm at right now, but making sure that that level of dominance is consistently growing year to year, you know, and not just, oh, it happened in college and, you know, that's it.
Right. Tell me a bit about like Oregon's desire for you guys to be nice assholes, because
Yeah,
I've heard that, right? Like, and I think it puts you guys in a good position to be good NFL players, because you know you're great in front of the cameras, you're great in front of people. But when those pads come on, you guys are dogs. So like,
yeah.
tell me a little bit about that mindset and how that's sort of developed in your time at Oregon.
Yeah, I would say I kind of learned just when I wasn't playing, I was able to look back and initially see like, okay, how are guys? You know, are they one way on the field and the another way off? Like, are they the same? You know, are they the same person through and through? And then that was with Alex Maribel, my first offensive line coach. Adrian Clem kind of presented this like real like asshole mentality of like, bro, we really finna bully everybody around. And I liked it because
Yeah,
it was something new and it was a nice switch up. And then Coach Terry came in and kind of refurbished that mindset and kind of just kept it a lot more control. He was like, y'all, we don't got no problem with y'all being assholes. Like, we want y'all to be assholes, but like, there's a time and a place for it. So,
yeah,
you know, you step on that field, like, you know, do what y'all got to do to get yourselves in that mindset. But when y'all off, y'all the nicest human beings. Y'all making sure y'all opening doors for women. Hashtag chivalry ain't dead. You know what I'm saying? Like, you doing all the nice
for sure.
things, you know, all the good things within the community. But when it's time on that field, like, it's business. Like, it ain't personal. So, and if you take it personal, that's between you and God. It ain't got nothing to do with it, you know. But that's where we kind of like just adopted that mentality. And I mean, proof is in the pudding. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've
Hmm.
had what, 2 seasons, back-to-back 1,000-yard running backs, and I'm pretty sure Jordan James will get drafted in early day too, probably. Um, I mean, you see the byproduct of being nice assholes and what it got us, you know. So
And clearly NFL teams love it because they keep
yeah,
going back to the Oregon Ducks, man.
yeah, yeah,
So now that pro day is over with, like I'm sure you're getting back into more, football, offensive
yeah.
line focused training. So what's a typical day of training looking like for you these days?
Yeah, so I have a couple workouts set up where I got to go in a couple weeks. So that is my workouts now are kind of tapered down to where it's not as aggressive, but it is still keeping me in that shape. So I honestly start off the day and just go for like a walk just to make sure I'm moving and things like that. Then I hit the weight room, come back, eat my breakfast, take a nap, play the video game a little while. Um, then I'll probably go hit the cardio one more time, and then I go to the facility and kind of just work on some offensive line drills. And then by that time, I'm just chilling, come back home, eat again, and kind of taper down the rest of the day, and then rinse and repeat.
I did see, and you actually posted a video about it earlier on your Instagram. You're training with live from the trenches,
Yeah,
doing some like offensive line specific work, right?
yeah,
So like, what are some specific things there that you're working on?
yeah. So we're always big on leg development. Like, legs are a very underdeveloped position in the offensive line world, and so like I said, they'll put me on the cardio plan. We'll work on, sometimes we'll hit the stairmaster. Sometimes we'll do all these different leg drills that like it's a new flavor. It's a different flavor. Um, and then we'll work from there, and then we'll go. Um, we'll just chill, talk about like the breakdown of how this has helped translate to you on the game, in game, and then we'll kind of come back and do another session, and then kind of just hit that 2-a-day mentality stuff, and again, like I said, just go from there.
Nice. I saw Spencer Burford's been doing some work with them too. So I don't
Yeah,
know, man. There's a lot of
yeah,
connections with 49ers you got going on. But
yeah, yeah.
so on that note, like what's next for you in this next month as you're preparing for the draft, like in terms of visits, any local pro days, any meetings set up?
Yeah, no, I got a local pro day. I got to go to Chicago on the 8th. Then I got to go to Seattle on the 10th. I've had some calls with some teams, 49ers and the Raiders. And then that's pretty much been my whole ordeal right now. And then after that, it's just, the waiting game, which is kind of, it's just a different feeling. I don't want to say it's
Yeah.
tough. It's different for what I'm normally accustomed to. Like, I normally have I already know exactly what I'm doing because, again, I'm normally prepping for spring ball around this time.
Mhm.
But now it's just like, you don't know what's happening behind closed doors, all these different variables that you really just have no control over. Um, but I'm just feeling it with time that's like benefiting me, like I said, getting close with some friends that I haven't talked to in a while, and, just enjoying this time because, again, you only get to go through this once in your life. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, like before we went live, we were talking about like this is a very fast paced, like
yeah,
month long process for you, several
yeah,
month long.
yeah,
So it's good to find things that kind of, keep you grounded and keep your energy safe and all that. So
yeah,
that's great. And again, like we got the draft coming up in less than a month. So yeah, any plans for that, or the still being worked out?
Yeah, we're gonna be working out all the way up until the draft, and then on the day of the draft, I'm having a draft party out in Chicago, and that'll be nice. And then from there, like I said, just sitting there and wait and play the waiting game, and see what team is gonna invest in big market, understand what they're getting as a whole. But yeah, honestly, just have fun and really just celebrate football for me up until this point, regardless of where I get sent to and all these other different things, and just know that like football is really just starting to peak for me, and literally just celebrate everything from the moment I put on them pads my freshman year in 2016 to now. Really just commemorate because gotta celebrate yourself when you get some time to. So
yeah, absolutely. You got to give yourself some flowers, and just like what you're doing right now, you're on the doorstep to the NFL. Absolutely deserving of that. Now, Marcus, I always end my interviews with this question: What is a team? What is a fan base getting both on and off the field with Marcus Harper II?
Yeah, off the field, you're getting a fun-loving guy, loves the community, loves getting around people and making them feel warm. I understand that not everyone is coming from the same background, so being able to make everyone feel relates to anybody regardless of their situation. And on the football field, again, y'all know what y'all getting. Like I'm not, y'all getting dominance, y'all getting confidence. But I'm gonna do it both on the field and off the field to be legendary. Honestly, that's really the main goal. And I like bringing people along throughout that process, just to watch how I get down, because it can literally be anybody. Like it's not like I have this special gift. I honestly I'm a hardworking, God-fearing man, and I'm determined to get what I want out of this football stuff, and I'm not gonna let nobody stop me. So
I love it, man. Yeah. I know a team is gonna love it as well, Marcus. Yeah. And like I said, I think you're gonna be playing in the league for a really long time. So obviously, best of luck this next month and beyond that as well. Definitely gonna be rooting for you.
Yeah, I appreciate that for real.
I appreciate you coming on. Appreciate everyone that tuned in. Make sure you guys like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, because there will be plenty more prospect spotlight interviews just like this one. But for now, have a good rest of your day, folks. Peace.